Welcome or welcome back to Pewdiepie. I'm Zui and I hope you enjoyed today's video. But before we get right into it, I'm obligated to remind you to click either the like or dislike button, commenting something down below, and of course sharing the video so more people can see and enjoy it. This is very important as it helps with the YouTube algorithm. I want you to know that your help is greatly appreciated. If you have any suggestions or ideas for a story, my Discord link is in my link tree that is down in the description, as well as my Patreon and Ko-fi for any donations you may want to send my way. Every cent counts. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Every person working at the Pizza Plex had their little quirks, and the ways how to deal with the twitchy machines. Monty was violent. Roxy didn't listen to commands. Freddy was too concerned with customers to respect employees. And Chica was the opposite of Roxy and needed constant attention. At least the other two robots of the Pizza Plex were more agreeable. DJ Music Man from the Western Arcade was following his exact schedule and very rarely got distracted. And the daycare attendant was incredibly efficient. Scarily so. But there was one problem he had, though. The daycare attendant had incredibly lackluster imagination and an obsession with following the tight rule set of the daycare, often to his or a customer's detriment. With the exception of the DJ, all animatronics required personal touches in dealing with the shenanigans they got up to, especially at night. Under the very few night shift guards was an unwritten law. Each night guard must have a different way of dealing with each robot's quirks, while still being within FASPA regulations and ethics, as few as there were. The muscle-bound Dimitri used his military training to quite literally wrestle the robots into submission. Kevin, the on-duty engineer of the Pizza Plex, while not a guard, had his interesting way of speaking to the robots. He would aggressively shout unimportant orders, such as "get out of my way," while calmly giving more important tasks, such as "hold still" during an operation. This way of doing it somehow only worked for him. You had tried it yourself, but you just didn't carry the same authority. You had come to the conclusion for yourself that the best way is to just wing it, as you were quite good with asserting situations. Just one animatronic eluded you. Moon, the other half of the daycare attendant. Moon was stricter than his son counterpart. He demanded absolute authority. Thankfully, his programming put you above him. So while he could be annoying, he was also very docile, as he was meant to assist the night guards during the blackouts that happened twice during your night, when the energy was rerouted to charging up the batteries of the recharge stations. While nice on paper, during the blackouts you just wanted to relax. And judging by what Brian, the leader of the day shift and very occasional drop-in night guard, was saying, he took a nap during these. So you were in need of figuring out how to get Moon off your back so you could appropriate the airbed Brian had set up into parts and services for yourself. You needed a distraction, something Moon could occupy himself with whilst the power was off. One of the main things a night guard was responsible for was getting every animatronic into their rooms before the morning shift began, as during that time the robots would charge for the day. Your initial idea had been purposefully leaving Freddy outside, but the bear animatronic had been too easily convinced by Moon one too many times, cutting your blackout time short. It was then, during your actual regulated break at around 11 PM, Moon found you reading a book called Trouble with Demons, a comedic horror novel about a young devil hunter and his succubus sidekick. Usually, the animatronic only read children's books, like the Hungry Hungry Monty Pillar, a faster take on a classic short story. And as you began explaining the plot of your novel, the robot's eyes widened, and he demanded you let him borrow the book, which you declined. Annoyed, it wasn't until later that night which you declined. Annoyed. It wasn't until later that night, during your second blackout, when you found Moon in the employee lounge, reading your book. That was when an idea came to you. This seemed to be it. Novels. Specifically novels for mature audiences. Not straight up adult. Adult novels probably would lead to an automated citation for your... Not straight up adult. That probably would lead to an automated citation to your boss. And that would lead to you getting fired. So, over the next couple of weeks, you delivered book after book to the robot. And the short naps really showed. You were more motivated. Your co-workers noticed your exceptional increase in happiness. However, during the 2 months you had been doing this, you failed to notice changes in Moon's behavior, as you made one fatal mistake. You were dozing on Brian's airbed. No blanket needed in the stuffy parts and services. The smell of oil and machinery was all around you. At first it had given you a headache, but it was comforting now. Your brain understanding that the smell meant a nap, peace and quiet. Even the broken endoskeleton that just stood in the corner, occasionally twitching, had become like a friend to you. Such is the life of the night guard at the Pizza Plex. But just as you were about to fall into sleep, 2 red eyes approached you from the darkness. The blackout left parts and surfaces completely, almost nightmarishly dark, so the 2 eyes were quite horrifying to your unprepared mind.
"I hope I didn't scare you, Miss Nightguard,"
asked the metallic voice of Moon. "Actually, yes, you did," you shouted. He bowed before you apologetically, just barely able to make it out thanks to the light emanating from him. "What do you want?" you snarled.
I wanted to ask you something. Your help, Miss Nightguard."
You blinked. "Wait, what?"
"Please."
Suddenly something cold and hard took hold of your hand. Every muscle tensed, but you understood it was him. It was the second blackout and you already napped once. So fine, you could skip this one.
"We only have an hour, so, if you please."
Fine, Moon, fine. Lead the way. Defeated, you let him help you get on your feet, before he slowly guided you towards the exit. The closer you got to the atrium, the more light you could make out. During this time, only emergency dim lights were on, but by now you had memorized the Pizza Plex so much that even with this minuscule lighting, you could see. And soon you realized you were going to the daycare of all places. What do you...
Shush! I'd like to keep it a secret.
Right. You opened the shutter to the daycare. In here you could just barely make out the silhouettes of everything, thanks to the emergency lights. Boone set you down in a chair and pushed you forward, your chest hitting the table's edge. Weird. According to your memory, there shouldn't be one here. Blindly, you touched forward, in front of you. It felt like wood, so it was a birthday table. Was there a birthday scheduled today? You weren't sure.
Before we proceed, Miss Nightguard, I need to inform you I'm not allowed to make fires. In fact, I'm only programmed to run away from them.
Okay, so? You furrowed your brows. He then took hold of your wrist, placing something long and made out of plastic into your palm.
So would you mind lighting some fires for me?
You blinked. Sure. Moon then guided your hand further onto the table. After he stopped, you flicked the lighter, turning on a candle. It gave only a little bit of illumination, but he used the lit candle to light up a few more. And then it became clear to you what was happening, and you blushed. In front of you was a plate with a piece of Christmas candy cane cheesecake on a plate, a spoon next to it. It was only sold in the Pizza Plex in December and the first week of January. You looked up. Moon was next to you, his grinning mask face almost uncomfortably close. What is this? He blinked, and before saying anything, he just strutted to the opposite end of the table, sitting down himself. Obviously there was no cake on his plate, but he motioned as if he had a spoon in his hand and was eating. What is this? You asked again. The daycare attendant made a cartoonishly swallowing noise before speaking up.
How was your day?
Wait. Is this a date? Embarrassed Moon squeaked.
I was under the impression that this was obvious.
What?
In the book you gave me, Guns and Ghosts, the main character Phoebe gets whisked away by her ghost crush Timothy Abbott, and they have this dinner.
You were finally starting to piece things together.
And in the other book, my neighbor is a hot-blooded zombie. He asked how her day was while they were eating together.
You smiled. So that had been your fatal mistake. You had solely been giving him romance novels. How cute. Moon, this is a lot to take in.
That's what Carnifex said in Love, Space, and Laser Blasts.
Did I seriously only give you romance novels? You had only given him books from your collection. Were you really that lonely and pathetic that you only had fantasy romance stuff? Oh God, how embarrassing.
I thought since we work so close together we can get to know each other better. I was under the assumption that dates are things humans go on. Play dates are for friends, and romantic dates are for the opposite sex. Am I wrong?
Okay, he was completely misunderstanding everything. But it was cute. So trying to be nice, you simply played along. Well, Moon, you said. Taking hold of the spoon, you slowly guided some of the creamy cake to your mouth. It tasted very artificial. Artificially delicious. You had a thing for processed factory-made food. Probably as a result of your own mother being a terrible cook when you were a child. Always using way too much salt. After sloshing the cream around in your mouth while thinking, you swallowed and said, I guess my day was nice. It really had been a boring day, but you wanted to amuse the robot. He really tried. His headplate made an excited 360 turn. God, this was so cheesy. But cheesy in a good way. And how was your day? Dramatically Moon sighed.
The brats, Miss Nightguard. They keep interrupting nap time. One even threw an alphabet cube at me after I ordered them to sleep.
As per usual, he was, ironically, way too robotic in his approach when it came to children. You took another bite of the cake. Continuing to play along, you decided it was time for a mild flirt. You know, normally I'd suggest taking a nap with me, just so I can figure out what precisely you're doing wrong, but... You leaned seductively forward, setting a hand under your chin with a smirk. After such a well-thought-out occasion, I think I'd be completely enamored by you and be unable to keep my hands to myself. The robot's head tilted.
I don't understand what that means.
Alright. Mature books. No adults. The mature ones skip the raunchy parts. Okay. Now your devious side was awoken. I can show you if you want. After we're done eating. Honestly, eating the cake in a sexy way, as you did, after that exchange, was a little useless, as the machine didn't understand. But you mostly did it to hype yourself up. Like most guards, especially the guys, you were curious when it came to the machines, and how their AI could adapt to genuine attempts at sexuality. Roxy herself had many resets in her lifetime because of that, and many male guards had been fired for inappropriate behavior towards her. The secret key was to get what you wanted, with the machine's consent, and not getting a citation. And you were about to fulfill your curiosity. After your cake had been eaten, it was you who guided the robot into the play area. There were a few spots where cameras wouldn't be able to pick you up, and since they were offline during blackouts too, it was just perfect. Moon himself had been smart as well, setting up the table in a way that it also wasn't visible on the cameras. Well, at least not your half with the cake. You lied down on a naptime blanket. Moon stood above you. Okay, big boy. Kneel down next to me. The robots did as you said. Alright. Now, tell me what you want. His face turned upside down.
To make you happy, Miss Nightguard. You're always so nice to me. I want to do something nice for you too.
Oh, good boy. The robot blinked, hearing that. Now, I want you to slowly unbutton my uniform. The robot did as instructed, with mechanical precision, quickly, efficiently. And now, climb on top of me. Try not to crush me, alright? And then do exactly what I tell you to do. He nodded. Carefully he climbed over you, his face very close to yours. Okay. You pointed at your chest. I want you to use your big boy hands to fondle them while you kiss me. Got it?
Yes, Miss Nightguard.
His hands began exploring you, as his facial plate gently bumped on your puckered lips. He felt cold and hard, but his face had a nice, rough texture. Sadly, the fun with Moon didn't last long, as his inner clock made him retract his fingers from you.
Miss Nightguard.
You were heaving. He was really good at this, almost as if someone had programmed him with the knowledge of that.
The lights will turn on soon,
he said. Drunken from the pleasure, you had gotten up. You were on your knees. It's okay, baby, you hushed, as you licked his fingers. When the lights suddenly turned on. For a second, or two, it was quiet. And then...
Oh, hello, Miss Nightguard! What are you doing in my daycare? And why are you licking my fingers? And where's your uniform?
Crap, you could already hear the citation being printed in your head. Medical emergency. Moon saved my life. Sun's head rotated happily.
Ooh, then it's understandable.
Crisis averted. Job saved.